Coin rolling. Is it a thing? If it's not, it should be. Hey guys, this is Chico with He Provides. This is the subject that I never hear anybody talk about, but it's had a huge impact on my life and the lives of my children. So I want to share a few things with me. Now I know that there are abundant places now where you can take in a jug of change and just dump it in, and it will sort it and count it, and it'll charge you a percentage fee, and it'll pay you right then and there. Okay, first I don't want to give the machine a percentage of my money to count it for me. I'm still able to do that. Secondly, I know that some banks, if you're a member, blah blah blah, they will do it for you. Not mine, but I've heard that there are some banks that'll do it for you. But I think you're missing out on a lot if you let someone else go through your change. And I'll get to that in just a second. Now, one other thing I want to address is these coin rollers. I've seen these in bags in stores for sale. Dollar Tree comes to mind. A big bag of these, you pay $1 for it. You know, it's not high dollar, it's not big expense, but it's money out of your wallet. These are still free, at least at my bank. And I know of at least a couple of other banks where they're free. You go in, you tell them what you want, they'll give them to you free of charge. For us, these are often an item we score at auctions. We buy a lot of box lots, you know, or groupings, and I don't think we've ever had to pick these up at the bank, maybe once in many, many years. Invariably, we'll go through boxes and we'll find a handful of these. We stash them back because we use them. They're coin rollers. In fact, here's what a roll of dimes looks like if you've never rolled coins. Now here's the thing. Here's a couple of things. Why is this important? Why should anybody care? I'll give you a couple of reasons. One, if you're not going through your change, you might be missing some profit. Now, I'll admit it's rare anymore to find a silver coin in your pocket change. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but it is rare. And I just went through, I had a handful of change on my dresser. And who among us doesn't have a pile of change on their dresser or their nightstand, or throw it in their sock drawer or something? There's a big jug in the corner, you throw it in. We all, or many of us, save our change. It's just easier to throw it in. So I had a big pile on my dresser this morning, and I had a big jar full that I needed to roll. So I went through the handful on my dresser, and I found this 1956 D wheat penny. They don't command a big amount of money, but 10, 15, 20 times face value, that's significant, and they're harder to come by. I've been a numismatist all my life. That's a fancy word for a coin collector. As long as I can remember, I've been collecting coins. I'm not fanatical about it, but I always look for a deal. I have found a few silver coins. Silver coins right now are bringing 16 to 20 times face value. So you find 4 silver quarters, instead of $1, you've got 16 to 20 bucks. There you go. That's worth looking at least glancing through your change. There's some other options. This jar here. This jar is all pennies that were made between 1960 and 1982, including 60 and 82. Those years were copper pennies. In 1982, there were 7 varieties of penny. Some were copper, some were zinc. In 1983 to present day, they're zinc. They're no longer made of copper. Now here's the thing. They don't show a lot of value right now, but think back, if you could go back to 1965 when they started making Cupro nickel quarters and half dollars and dimes, and you could pull silver coins out at face value, would you do it? Would that be a smart thing to do? I think so. And I think it's going to be the same thing with these pennies. Now, I'm kind of already an old dude. It may not benefit me a great deal. But my children, my grandchildren, it may benefit them a lot. But either way, they're disappearing. Depending on who you talk to and random searches we've done ourselves, there is 20% or less of the 1 cent coins floating around are still made of copper. You might want to consider pulling them out of circulation and holding them for future. We've come across some cool stuff. We get some cool foreign coins now and then. Now they may not have the same value as the coin that we took it in exchange for, unbeknownst, but they're still cool. They're worth holding on to, looking at, and learning from. But aside from that, aside from being able to pull a coin here and there out that has several times face value, or even just twice the face value. Aside from that, what's the deal? Why should it be a thing? My daughters are adults. All of our children are adults. We're a blended family. But growing up, my two daughters and I spent a lot of time together, and I tried to make every moment count. Rolling change was a big deal. It was time together. Here's why. One of the things when they were young and we started doing it, they learned to count. We used rolling change as a means to learn to count. 1, 2, 3, how to add, how to subtract. Another lesson when they got a little older was, what could you buy with this? If we had a roll of dimes, $5, what could you buy with that? And we would have this open discussion about what $5 would buy, and about how we got this $5 and possibly the thing that they were discussing because we saved our change and we took the time to roll it up. As they got a little older, we discussed presidents. Let's identify them. The nickels. Thomas Jefferson. The penny is Abe Lincoln. The quarter is George Washington. At that time, Kennedy was on the half. Kennedy's still on the half. And Susan B. Anthony was on the dollar. Now there's some presidential dollars. I won't go into it. And we've even had a Sacagawea dollar. But we discussed these people. And it led to other discussions. The paper money in our wallets, if we were lucky enough to have any. We discussed and I left off FDR off of the dime. We discussed the 10 and the $100 bill of having guys that are not presidents. Who were they? Why are they on money? Then we would, as this continued, this would also branch into history lessons. We would talk about cool stuff that is either tied to the coinage itself or to the people involved. Great history lessons, great open discussions. Susan B. Anthony was on the dollar from 79 to 81, I think, 3 years. That was a big deal. I had daughters. We talked about women's suffrage and how this woman came to be on a dollar coin. And by the way, if you've got an 81, you might look and see what kind of value it's got. Anyway, and as they progressed older, we talked about what these coins are made of. Now these are zinc, but these are made of copper. These are made of nickel. What is nickel? Were these called nickel? I just lost it. Were these called nickel because they were 5 cents, or were these called nickel because they were made of nickel? And we would even discuss there was 3 years, I believe, where the nickel's worth 35% silver. And why did we have those 3 years? Because of World War II. Another history discussion, an open discussion, bonding time. It was one of the most important things to me, spending time discussing things with my girls, forming questions in their mind. We would talk about silver and zinc, and it would lead to discussions about where's copper mined, which would lead to discussions about many of my travels. So not only do I think that economically rolling change is a good idea, because then my bank or these machines don't charge me a percentage of my money. And not only do I think it's economically viable for my own economy, because I pull out wheat pennies and silver dimes and like that, I think it brings you closer to your money and keeps you grounded. And we still pull out, which something that's disappearing, bicentennial quarters. Not a huge value now, but it helps me save money. That's money that I might not otherwise save. And again, it might not benefit me in my old age, but it might be a huge boost. It might be a huge boost to my children and grandchildren. And my grandchildren, anytime that I can get them down and we can do this together, I'll do it, because number one, I like spending time with them. Number two, I like open discussions with them. And number three, I think it's the right thing to do. So, roll and change might not seem like a big deal to you or anybody else, but it's been a huge part of our lives, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Pardon the pun. Godspeed, guys. Thanks for coming along. We thoroughly appreciate spending time with you also.